believer when I was taking nuclear physics, and nobody could ever sell me an atom. And the more they work in nuclear fission, the less atoms they find. The reason sex is so mysterious, there are many reasons why sex is mysterious and strange, is that it is a harmonic of the aesthetic and a harmonic of pain, and it meets there at the cross. From the top of the band, it's a harmonic down from aesthetics. And from the bottom of the band up, it's a harmonic of agony. And between the two of them, it produces this a weird sensation. People become addicted to it. You start running an in turbulence area, a heavy conflict area, or you just start up in turbulence running, and you generally get heat. You'll get considerable heat sometimes. A person will feel just like he's burning, like he's on fire. His temperature goes up and so on. This is fever. And I can tell you unreservedly, this is the source of fever in illnesses. It isn't the body generating something or other. It's actually the body moving through facsimiles. And it hits these hot facsimiles. The body changes in its metabolism. And changing in its metabolism, it changes the facsimiles it has. And if it changes them in the wrong direction, the person gets, quote, sick, unquote. The body mocks up some virus or something of the sort. And there is such a thing as bacteria. Don't worry about that. There's bacteria. It's trying to survive, too. It is responsible for, I would say, about 1/1,000,000th of the illness in the world. When we examine Technique 88, we examine actually whole track. We take up, I am very sorry to say, in its most sordid, horrible details, such things as power mania, greed, glory, sex. Particularly sex. Any man permitted to make as much noise as Sigmund Freud was permitted to make certainly must have had something. And he was not unsmart to concentrate on sex. For one thing, it's popular. His imagination couldn't get up to the point of how sexy can sex get. Well, that's an 88. Now, don't think that sex is all there is in 88. There's everything else in it, too. Sex is one dynamic in 8. In 88, as you examine it, the riddles, the mysteries, techniques beyond number of how to make your fellow man miserable, how to be God, how to be a perfect egomaniac. A technique is in there for everything. So don't limit yourself when you look at this technique. Don't get small-minded about it. There's always new blood coming into this universe. Always new theta coming in. New theta beings coming in. And gradually, old-timers, they've trained people, they've been here, they've done everything, they've seen everything, they've been booted around, they've ruled everything there is, they've been made into every variety of slave known. They finally get clear on out, and they can get so bad off that they get sent to Earth, which is the logical place you go to bail out and turn the track back. It's a logical place to hit. Would be the worst place there is. This place is pretty bad. And there is the sequence of theta traps. Theta traps are very interesting. It's usually a post, and it's sitting out in space, or it's sitting on a planet, or it's sitting someplace, and all it is a post with a field. And a fellow comes near the thing, and he doesn't have a body up to this time. He's perfectly happy, in other words. And he has a personality, and he knows he's he, and he has lots of fun and all that sort of thing. But he doesn't have this thing called a body. That's later, right after he hits the theta traps. So he hits the theta trap. And it sort of brings him in, and he hits it and he fights it. Well, actually, he thinks it's building things up on him. The actuality is he's building attention units up on it. And it fights him with fields, conflicting fields, one way or the other, and he'll spread himself around until he becomes more or less a globe. He's trying to suppress this energy. He's just being beaten to pieces by energy, that's all. Energy fields, and they're hitting him harder and harder and harder. And he piles up attention units, attention units, attention units, attention units, more and more and more. And then somebody comes out and gets him and puts him in another field for a couple of minutes. Lots of fun. But when he gets through, he's built a body. Of course, it's a body that doesn't move. It's just sort of a lump of flesh. And they have to come along and shoot him where he's supposed to have joints. They fix him up real good. Fortunately, it's just an engram. And he goes along for a few centuries or a few thousand years with a body, because the second they give you a body, they can make a slave laborer out of you, see? I mean, that's the way you get a laborer. You put up a trap and you catch somebody, and you make them build a body, and you put a pick and shovel in their hands, and then you figure out some method of controlling them. You make them come back to the place every time they died, for instance, and give them a new body. I put her on an E-meter one night and audited her for about 5 or 6 hours. This character was in 1851 on the Jersey coast in the surf. Hit in the surf, evidently shattered a vertebrae, knocked her down in the surf, almost drowned, and woke up in an insane asylum that instant on another solar planet. At that point, was of course grabbed by the attendants because she says I'm drowning, and they realize what's the standard run on this. Grabbed by the attendants and says, forget it. And they pat her on the head. And she goes on living there, very puzzled, but feeling very apathetic, and knows she's been there for about 10,000 years and can't figure out why. And she kicks off a few days later then. She wakes up on Earth and tries to tell the doctor, I know something, and I died somewhere, and is afraid to tell the doctor, and tries to tell her husband, and nobody understands her. And she goes on rather miserably, a cripple the rest of that life, holding on to this big maybe. Comes along, evidently lived a life or two that was okay, and then came along, and in this life, at 2, got polio, and it all banged in.
There's a place in Florida where you've got friends. We'll help you transcend if you give us those ends. Party at the Church of Scientology. Don't call it a cult, you just don't understand. Write us a check and take